How often do you feel like you're living life on, I don't know, a pre-programmed loop, just constantly battling this vague sense of chronic stress?
It's that feeling, isn't it? Like you're drowning in information.
Exactly. And, deep down, that your personal operating system is just bogged down by these old invisible programs, that confusing legacy code running in the background.
Well, that feeling of being stuck is universal, but our sources today, they argue it's a very specific and, more importantly, an addressable condition.
Okay.
Call it Gaflet, a state of perpetual, unaware default mode. So instead of just treating the symptoms, we're diving into a pretty radical architecture, a blueprint for a complete character upgrade.
And that's our mission in this deep dive, to unpack this Homo Quranicus concept, or the Quran Insani, the perfected human profile.
Right.
A framework that comes entirely from three profound but often overlooked verses in Surah Yasin.
And the beauty of this material is how it treats ancient wisdom not as, say, abstract philosophy, but as a really practical analytical framework for restructuring your mind.
For real change.
That's right. We're sort of translating this spiritual architecture using modern metaphors, things like IT systems, debugging, firewalls, and even neuroscience concepts like neuroplasticity and the default mode network, the DMN.
So the goal is to extract the core code you need to achieve that lasting transformation.
To build a profile defined by balance, by unshakable strength, and by a deep, active awareness.
Okay, let's unpack that architecture then.
Yeah.
We need a strong foundation to host this new OS. You're saying the Quran Insana is built on three essential pillars.
3 complementary pillars, yes. They ensure the system is both strong and this is key, incredibly flexible.
So where do we start? What's that primary internal calibration?
Pillar 1. It establishes the dynamic power management. The sources call it the Aziz and Rahim balance. And this isn't about compromise, it's about integration.
Okay, so 2 forces.
2 essential complementary forces derived from divine names. They define how you interact with the world and, just as importantly, with yourself.
Let's start with the first one, Aziz. It sounds powerful, like it dictates your presence.
It is. Aziz is the system's strength. It represents unshakable discipline, self-respect is at, and a total immunity from inferiority complexes. This is your personal firewall.
The firewall, I like that.
It sets impenetrable boundaries. It ensures you can stand with dignity in the face of aggression or, disrespect. Without that inner strength, everything else just falls apart.
I can definitely see the appeal of having a spiritual firewall, but
yeah.
How do we make sure that Aziz, that strength, doesn't turn into simple arrogance or professional rigidity? That's a real danger.
An absolutely real danger. And that is precisely why the second force, Rahim, is non-negotiable.
So that's the counterweight.
Exactly. Rahim's compassion, it's mercy, restorative grace. This is the system's recovery mode. It's your emotional intelligence. It ensures the power of Aziz is always tempered.
So it stops you from becoming a tyrant.
Towards others, or even towards yourself when you inevitably make a mistake.
So the strength protects the compassion, and the compassion directs the strength. This seems, crucial for everything from leadership to parenting. Even just your own self-talk.
It is. Imagine you're a manager who has to give some really tough feedback. The Aziz ensures you're firm, you're clear, you hold the standard. The firewall holds the line.
Right.
But the Rahim ensures the delivery is compassionate. It's focused on growth, on restoration, not just judgment. The recovery mode offers a path forward.
That makes the system incredibly robust. What's the core philosophy holding them together?
It's distilled into this profound personal mandate. Build such strength that it contains mercy. Show such mercy that it harbors no weakness.
No zafiyat.
Exactly. If your strength is too brittle, you become a tyrant. If your mercy is too soft, you become a victim. That dynamic balance is the absolute foundation of professional effectiveness.
Okay, pillar 1 is that internal calibration, building that strong, balanced core. But none of that matters if we're still stuck running those old inherited scripts.
Which brings us directly to pillar 2.
How do we break out of Gaflet?
Pillar 2 is the Gaflet breaker. It's about installing active awareness. As we said, Ghassan is living on pure autopilot, blindly following what the sources call ancestral culture, Atalar Kutu.
So, bad legacy code.
Exactly. Inherited, unexamined routines and beliefs that just hold you back. You're lost in the brain's default mode network, constantly rehearsing old problems, never really present.
So it's more than just distraction. It's a kind of systemic unconsciousness. But the solution isn't just, say, personal mindfulness, is it? The framework suggests there's an external responsibility, too.
It absolutely does. This is where the concept of litanzira comes in to warn, or maybe better, to transmit. The Quran in Sana moves beyond personal awareness to become a proactive, a responsible transmitter.
So you don't just fix your own system.
No, you accept the responsibility to share that waking up frequency with others who are still running on default settings.
That sounds incredibly draining, especially in a world that often prefers to stay asleep or is actively hostile to change. Why take that on?
Because Gaflet is contagious. It leads to stagnation on a huge scale. The deep insight here is that your personal awareness is inseparable from your communal responsibility. The mandate is clear. In a world where everyone lives in default settings, you be a transmitter.
Okay, but this is where the system gets really tested, right? If you're a transmitter broadcasting truth, you're going to hit a wall of resistance. Social pressure, rejection.
Which leads us to pillar 3.
The Haqiqat, focused vision. How does this system prevent burnout?
This pillar is a strategic masterpiece in energy management. It mandates that your focus must be on the truth, al-qawwa, and your own internal integrity, Haqiqat. And crucially, not on temporary results or the approval of the majority.
The Axarium.
Yes, this is the key to maintaining your sanity in a very noisy world.
So success isn't measured by, how many followers you get or whether you win a debate on social media.
Exactly not. This focus gives you immense cognitive flexibility. The system understands that some people are operating in a state of what it calls neural lockdown. Neural
lockdown.
Their minds are closed to truth because of deep-seated biases or traditions. Trying to force your way through that mental barrier is just a strategic waste of your most valuable resource, your energy.
We've all been there, arguing with someone who just refuses to listen. So the framework tells you when to just walk away.
It tells you where to focus your resources. You don't drain your battery trying to force open locked doors. The Quran and Sana focuses energy where it can be effective on the soft arts, the minds that are actually open.
I see.
The insight is so powerful. Seek success not in numbers, but in fidelity to the truth. If closed doors aren't your fault, stop banging on them and focus on the open ones. It eliminates so much anxiety.
Okay, so what does this all mean for us right now? This isn't just abstract philosophy. The sources lay out a plan for a deep system upgrade and reboot.
Yeah.
How do they bridge that gap from ancient text to modern, actionable science?
They use a unique approach, the Neuroscience approach. It combines the rhythm and structure of these verses with the science of neuroplasticity, even referencing contemporary work, like Dr. Joe Dispenza's on creating your own reality.
Wow.
The whole plan is designed to consciously bypass and overwrite those limiting neural pathways, that faulty legacy code that keeps us stuck.
That fusion is fascinating. So it simplifies the entire goal down into a daily operational formula.
It does. The entire character framework really boils down to this. Aziz, your power, plus Rahim, your compassion, minus Gaflet, that autopilot, equals Haqq, reality or truth.
So if you maintain your strength and compassion while cutting out autopilot behavior,
you achieve alignment with reality. That is the code that runs the entire updated OS.
Let's get into the 7-day reboot camp then, to see the concrete steps. It starts on day 1, defining the data source or tensile consciousness.
Day 1 is all set up. Tensile consciousness is this idea of consciously receiving guidance from a pristine, divine source, basically overriding that polluted internal voice of the Gaflet.
And the most critical step,
the morning boot sequence. The first 15 to 20 minutes after you wake up, in solitude, with absolutely no digital devices.
Why is that non-digital window so vital?
Because that first quarter hour dictates your brainwave state for the entire day. It's framed as connecting to the divine server to download your operational data, so you start with a clear, calm purpose.
You're insulating yourself from the chaos, the digital DDoS attacks.
Exactly. Before the anxiety and reactive behavior can even start, it's an act of conscious self-possession.
Okay, then we get to one of the most compelling parts for me. Day 5, the legacy code cleanup. This tackles that verse about ancestors not being warned.
This day is all about deep psychological liberation. The practice is to identify those restrictive, self-limiting beliefs. You know the ones. The phrases that start with, I'm just like my mother, or this is just how my family is.
Or I always fail at this.
All of them. Those are the inherited scripts, the legacy code. They aren't actually you.
So you don't just accept these patterns as fixed personality traits.
No, you consciously overwrite them. You replace the legacy code with the clear, active truth that the Quran and Sanya acts with free will. You are actively pruning old, debilitating neural pathways and choosing new conscious circuits.
It's applied neuroplasticity for spiritual freedom.
That's it. And finally, you have to make sure this new system is permanent. Day 7 is about sealing the decree. How do we lock in this updated OS?
How do we?
By focusing on the end of the verse, lekwad hakwal kwavlu, the word is established as true. The practice here is intensive mental rehearsal.
A technique that neuroscience completely validates.
Completely. You simulate your updated self, the Quranic, in detail. You imagine the thoughts, emotions, and specific actions of your future self successfully handling a tough situation.
You're basically running a deep simulation of your best self.
Precisely. And that simulation permanently stamps the new neural pathways as Haqq's real, established, proven. It moves the new character structure from conscious effort to subconscious habit.
And this doesn't just stop after 7 days. It becomes a constant 24-hour awareness cycle. How do these pillars show up in a typical work week?
The flow is continuous. The morning starts with Tenzil, that purposeful system upload. You're calibrating with Aziz and Rahim. And psychologically, the feeling of safety from Rahim consciousness, that certainty of support, actually helps regulate cortisol levels.
So you start the day with disciplined peace, not anxiety.
Yes. And then the daytime is about running diagnostics. It's a constant Gaflet filter against the rush of external demands and the temptation to revert to legacy code.
So in practice,
If you see an injustice, you use Aziz to stand firm, but without anger. If a junior colleague makes a mistake, you use Rahim to mentor and teach, not just criticize. It's constant balanced application.
and then night becomes critical for maintenance and optimization.
Exactly. Night is for reviewing the day's log records. You do an honest self-assessment, ask the hard questions. Where did I slip into Gaflet today? Which warnings did I ignore?
And then you use neuroplasticity before sleep.
You engage in that final mental simulation. You rehearse and build stronger, more conscious neural circuits for the next day. The system gets progressively smarter.
So we've seen how applying this framework results in the Homo Quranicus V1.0 profile.
Yeah.
A person who is knowing the source, disciplined, compassionate, awake, free of that legacy code, effective, and stabilized.
It's not just intellectual. It's a complete character system reboot, integrating profound wisdom with modern cognitive science.
A single, cohesive, operational manual.
And the ultimate purpose, really, is to turn that potential negative warning of Surah Yasin 7 about those whose hearts are closed into a positive reality for yourself.
How so?
You become a person whose conviction is so well-coded, so integrated, that your commitment to reality and truth becomes unshakable.
That is a powerful transformation. So thinking about that core formula, Aziz plus Rahim Gaflet Haqq, and specifically that concept of legacy code, which one of your default inherited habits or limiting beliefs, that script you run without thinking, you're ready to overwrite and delete tonight to start consciously designing your most powerful and compassionate self tomorrow?